By the early 1990s, the innocent pleasures of comics were lost with the arrival of Savoy books, Lord Horror and Men and Ecker. Scandalous graphic novels which were determined to offend.
I think to understand Lord Horror, you need to understand the Savoy story. Their shop was raided 60 times by Manchester police over a few years. At one point, they were being raided every couple of weeks. And I think they just became very, very angry and wanted to do something that would just upset everybody.
If the sexism, racism and tawdry illustrations had shocked, then the images of Margaret Thatcher being buggered or Lord Horror shooting up with Adolf Hitler were bound to offend.
It starts off as a vague political satire, you know, with pictures of Maggie Thatcher getting bummed, you know, and getting sliced in half. That's brilliant. And then it ends with that. And you've got to think, on no level, is there any way... You know, and these are images that actually happened, and it's important that we see them, I guess. We shouldn't see them in a comic.
The publishers, Savoy Books, believed that their Lord Horror comics and follow-on novel, far from being childish entertainment, were on a par with books such as Ulysses and Naked Lunch.
The kind of audience that those magazines are aiming at are teenage audience, you know, dark parka-wearing boys with pimples who sit around in the room all day with gun catalogues. Now, the majority of them will grow out of it, because that's just what boys do. Feeding them this kind of stuff is so supremely dangerous. It's so disgusting. It's just full of hate. It's just full of empty... I can't stand it.
Savoy Books were prosecuted under the Obscene Publications Act, which claimed the comics were pornographic. Champions of free speech supported the publisher, perhaps just on a matter of principle.
You can very easily select individual frames from the Mengen Ecker comics, or from the Lord Horror novel, or from Motherfuckers, and make it seem absolutely atrocious and appalling. But when you see the whole thing in context, and again I would stress that the context is one of complete stylization and absolute kind of phantasmagoria, then I don't think that those things taken in context could possibly remotely be seen to be the views of the authors.
Savoy was found guilty and Lord Horror banned. But after an appeal in 1992, the verdict was overturned.
The court accepted that this was not glorifying racism. This was an attempt, and in my view not a very successful attempt, but invariably you don't ask whether the book has been a success or a failure. It was a genuine attempt to write a piece of literature, and it deserved for that reason to not to be convicted.
You see, sometimes banning something is good. The anti-Semitism, the disgusting, nauseating depravity of those pieces of work is astounding.
You've got to have right-wing people put their views out so that you're aware that these people exist, and that you can say, well, no, that's obviously wrong, that's obviously a bad thing. But that's just so far down the wrong road, I think, that it's distasteful to the point of just gross insensitivity and offensiveness.